If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we're back, and I'm joined tonight by our in-house CIA operative 007, Jeff MD, book author extraordinaire, all-around good guy. Good to see you, Jeff. It's been a while.
Good to see you. Yeah, that's right. You weren't on when I was on with John last.
We've been kind of doing this thing here the past week or two.
Yeah.
But so I hear it's a little chilly there in Arizona. You're getting your
shirt. We got snow in the mountains.
Good place
it's
for it.
It's supposed to be 80 something like in a week.
Yeah, I believe it. Enjoy your 3 days of winter.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to jump right in, and the main topic of the night is RFK Jr. doing battle with the Senate today. Some of the shit that was said, Jeff, I don't know how much you caught, but
I caught some of it.
Oh my God, some of these people in Congress, it's political theater, right? They're a bunch of bad actors. They don't belong there. There's no way that people like Elizabeth Warren have been legitimately elected. There's some classic meltdowns. Did you happen to catch Bernie Sanders going off on the onesie?
No, I didn't. I didn't catch Sanders. I heard Warren make a fool of herself.
So when you see the video that we've got queued up for Bernie Sanders and the onesie, it is just, it's beyond the pale. It is just what a joke our Senate has become. So I've got 5 videos queued up. None of them are very long, but I swear to God, after watching just the first 5 in our opening segment here, Jeff, everybody will know exactly what happened for the rest of the day because it's more of the same. So first video is only 33 seconds and we'll start there.
That we have massive health problems in this country that we must face honestly. And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children. That's why I'm so grateful to President Trump for the opportunity to sit before you today and seek your support and partnership in this endeavor.
So I'm not sure if it's in one of the videos I have queued up or not, Jeff, but at some point during the testimony today, RFK Jr. said, when my uncle was in office, 3% of Americans were considered obese, and that number is now 76%. That's a little bit of a stretch. I don't remember the precise numbers, but I saw them not too long ago. And about half of that 76% are absolutely morbidly obese. The other half are considered significantly overweight, but not to the point of obesity. Who knows? We're probably just splitting hairs at the end of the day, but it's valid comment on his part as far as the obesity epidemic is concerned. And I suppose, well, let's hear your thoughts, and then I've got a quick comment to make on that.
Well, he's right in that America is fat. I mean, let's be honest. And I'm sure there's a number of factors. One is overly processed foods, which are not really good for you. And, they put sugar in everything. And another thing is we have gone from a country of steel workers and miners and people working on assembly lines, people doing physical manual labor, at least the men doing physical manual labor all the time, to people sitting at desks, sitting in offices, doing stuff online. The inherent daily exercise of just living isn't there anymore. I mean, you think about a farmer. Farmer gets up at the ass crack of dawn, works his ass off all day long, and then goes home. And they ate a ton because they had to. They were burning a lot of calories. And when you quit doing that, but that's one thing, but our diet hasn't changed significantly. We're still eating way too much.
Yeah, so I've mentioned the phenomenon in the past before the white man came to North America. somewhere around 50% of Native American diets was fat. So if you eat a carnivore diet or a keto diet, your body essentially uses fat for fuel. And that's what happened with the Native Americans. They didn't really have any exposure to sugar until the white man came, especially with the advent of bringing alcohol to the table. So the problem with sugar is that when you eat carbohydrates and you're not in ketosis, so ketosis means that you're burning fat for energy as opposed to glycogen. So you eat carbohydrates, your body converts them to blood sugar, blood sugar level goes up, and you burn the sugar, as a source of energy. But the problem with sugar is that it falls off just as fast as it goes up. So when your blood sugar drops and you're not in ketosis, your body is conditioned to use sugar as energy. What do? Your body says you're hungry, you need to eat to get your blood sugar back up again. So in the 1980s, I've told this before, so I'm going to do it really short. 1980s, war on fat had nothing to do with a war on fat, and had nothing to do with fat making Americans obese. I can tell you I have cut to sub 4% body fat when I was competing on a diet that was 40% fat, good fats. The fat's not the enemy. But when that whole thing, that was theater as well, by the way. So when all the food companies took fat out of the food tastes like shit. So they put sugar into it so it tastes better. But they got the side benefit of causing quick spikes in people's blood sugar levels. Then they got quick fall in people's blood sugar levels as a result of that. So what they do, they had to eat more. And it's largely the reason that we're in this situation today. I have never met somebody who struggled with their weight who is happy about their weight. They're self-conscious. They wish it wasn't so. People don't know what they don't know. Doesn't do any good to shame people. The American food supply has been poisoned for the past 50 years, and that's really what it boils down to. So when Robert Kennedy Jr. says, I want to make America healthy again by putting better food out there. I mean, we've known for how many decades that these red dyes are carcinogenic. And then all of a sudden, mysteriously, just before JFK comes on or RFK comes on the scene, they ban the red dyes. Come on. Like these are not companies who have Americans' best interests at heart whatsoever. All right. I ask any of the Democrats who are chuckling just now, do you think all that money, $900 billion that we're sending to Medicaid every year, has made Americans healthy? Do we think it's working for anybody? 33 seconds.
Most Americans, if they can afford to be, will be on private insurance. We need to figure out ways to improve care, particularly for elderly, for veterans, for the poor in this country. And Medicaid, the current model is not doing it. I would ask, any of the Democrats who are chuckling just now, do you think all that money, the $900 billion that we're sending to Medicaid every year, has made Americans healthy? Do we think it's working for anybody? Are the premiums low enough?
Well, Jeff, I would argue it is working for some people.
Oh, yeah, people who receive the 900 billion.
Exactly. They call it the medical industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
So nobody else thinks it's working. But anyway, radical transparency is exactly what organizations like NIH, FDA, CDC need. 42 seconds.
My approach to administration, HHS, will be radical transparency. If members of this committee or other members of Congress want information, the doors are open. I've spent many years litigating against NIH and its sub-agencies. HHS and its sub-agencies, NIH, CDC, FDA, on FOIA issues, trying to get information that we, the taxpayers, paid for, and oftentimes getting back redacted copies after a year or 2 years of litigation. That should not be the case. And if Congress asks me for information, you will get it immediately.
So comments on that, Jeff, he makes a great point as an attorney. We paid for it. How come we can't access the info?
Because information is power, and if you control information, you have power. It doesn't have to be your information. You just have to control it. And that's what's going on. And a lot of it too is there's so much nefarious crap going on at these NIH and all this, where they don't want it exposed. They don't want to see. I mean, we know Fauci's made millions and millions and millions of dollars from drug companies, and a lot of it is licensing his quote unquote his technology that we paid for. And then the pharmaceutical companies send money to NIH or to FDA to test their own drugs. Well, if someone is paying your salary through these costs, are you going to come back and say, "Hey, you're doing a bad job here"? No, of course not. You're gonna keep the gravy train going. And so a lot of it is to hide their own nonsense, their own corruption, and the other part is just power. You control it. You control you have the power. But yeah, this is our information. It's not the FDA's information or the NIH's. It's the American public's information because we frickin' paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's being used against us.
Yep.
Next one up, RFK Jr. shocks Dem senator into silence with the brutal truth about U.S. health. 2 minutes, 15 seconds. This is 4 out of 5 videos for the opening segment. I'm going to play the whole 2:15.
So it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us, as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward,
You want me to
knowing
answer
that
the
it's going to
question,
harm
Senator?
Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And I'm
So
in a
is that the
unique
only reason why
position.
you're at HHS? Is that the
Excuse
only
me?
reason why then you're at the HHS, to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying, and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking. Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically, to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
Some pretty staggering numbers there.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it was good to see him shut them down, because a lot of times today, these senators, especially the Democrats, just spoke over him, throwing accusation after accusation at him and saying he's not qualified, blah, 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 so on and so forth. All right. So the final video in our opening here, and again, if you watch nothing else but the first 5 videos in this episode, you will have a handle on how things went in the Senate today. So this lady here, Nicole Shanahan, very, very wealthy. She's a billionaire. She spent a lot of money over the years getting Democrats elected. She changed teams. She's now firmly in the MAGA camp. And she has some words of warning for many of the people that she helped get elected. And she will be watching how they vote on RFK Jr. 1 minute, 53 seconds. I'm going to play the whole video.
Hey everyone, tomorrow is a pivotal moment in our nation's history. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, RFK will sit in front of the Senate Finance Committee for his confirmation hearing to be our nation's next Secretary of Health and Human Services. I urge everyone to call their U.S. senators over the following days and demand they vote yes on Bobby's nomination. He is more than qualified. He's proven, principled, and prepared to lead. I'll share a list below of key senators. If they represent your state, they need to hear from you. If they don't, please call your own senator and ask them to vote yes. We need as many votes as we can get. So this hasn't been widely reported, but in 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia from red to blue. The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff, please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto. This is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long. It ends now. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
So this is a subject I'm pretty ambivalent on, Jeff. So Citizens United Supreme Court decision in 2010 said that corporations are people and money is free speech. And I vehemently disagree with that. So it's easy to say, okay, well, this lady's a billionaire. Elon Musk is a billionaire, and they're helping fund what we seek. But it's a distortion of the process. It doesn't matter if it's somebody like her on our side or George or Alex Soros on the other side. They end up having a much bigger say in our country than the rest of us do. And that's not the way things were originally intended to be on behalf of the founders. So, like I say, I'm pretty ambivalent on this. I don't know what you think, but as a libertarian, lowercase l, I don't like seeing all this money in our political process.
Well, I don't either, but then you also run into if you're going to challenge an incumbent, the incumbent has name recognition, free airtime, everything else by being the senator, representative, governor, whatever. And to basically counter that, you're going to have to spend money to get on TV, to get your ads out, to organize people. And few people, Trump is one of the few who generated a lot of free press, especially the first time. And he ran a pretty much a shoestring campaign because he didn't need it. But other people don't have that. And you get people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham that these big companies are just shoving money at them, through lobbyists and campaign contributions, etc. Now, Citizens United, I understand people don't like it, and I didn't like it either. But then I go, okay, now a trade union, can they donate to a campaign? And the answer is yes. And they, well, we represent the workers, therefore, we're just a collection of voters. Well, a company could say, a board of directors could say, we represent the shareholders, and we are speaking for them, or we're doing what's in their best interest. And so what's the difference between someone who owns shares in Walmart and someone who is a member of the auto workers union? They both have these organizations, maybe that one is the board of directors and one is the union, that is supposed to be looking out for their interests. And just like you can say, well, you could always sell your shares in Walmart. Well, you could say, well, you don't have to work at Ford either. So, when you start saying people can't get together and speak freely or push their agenda or things, I have a little concern with that, because if you and 10 of your friends decide you're going to start a group and you're going to gather your own money and give it to somebody for a campaign, or go after, maybe it's the sheriff. At what point do you draw the line and say that you're too big, you've got too much money? Where is it? And it's a slippery slope. So unless you're going to go with 100% publicly funded campaigns with hard limits, but even then if I get out there and I say, I want Trump, but he's not paying me, I just get out there on my own and say, I want Trump. Someone can say, well, that's a contribution in kind because you're getting publicity for Trump. But he could go, oh, look at me, man. I never said anything. We had a guy here in Arizona who's a wealthy business owner who ran his own ads against Ruben Gallego. And he even said, this is me. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for any candidate or campaign. And I'm paying for this ad out of my own pocket. You could tell him he can't do that.
Yeah, it's a sticky topic for sure. Yeah. I don't claim to have all the solutions to it at all, but I still feel it distorts the process, but I don't have a solution to it at the end. And right now, it honestly doesn't matter what Chris Evans thinks anyways, because the Supreme Court's ruled. So it's not something that keeps me up at night. It's just, if things had gone differently without this massive influx of corporate big money, I think we would have been better off. But
I think what we've also seen with all the super PACs and all that, if they want to put money into a campaign or on an issue, they're going to put money on the issue.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the opening for tonight's video. We've got, I don't know, maybe a dozen more things to discuss on RFK Jr. now for chapter 1. And everything today went exactly the way that we just showed you in those videos. It was very, very contentious. Anything to do with the Democrats. We've got some pretty funny videos coming up where, again, Bernie Sanders, he likes to talk the talk. He's a communist, Marxist and everything. How many homes does Bernie Sanders have now, by the way? Is it three? Yeah, worth many millions of dollars. I don't think he has any credibility. I don't think he's ever had any credibility for that.
Limousine liberal.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. So RFK Jr. addresses critics head on. I'm not going to apologize for questioning the status quo. And this is where him being an attorney really shone today. And again, I don't know if you had a chance to watch much of this, but many of the senators are attorneys themselves. But I don't know that many of them have the level of experience arguing cases like RFK Jr. does. He's actually a really, really good attorney. Even if it's on a topic we don't agree with RFK Jr. on, you got to give him credit for being pretty sharp and putting together compelling arguments. So I threw this one up there for those people who are new to the podcast. If you go to patreon.com/survivaldispatch, sign up for a free membership. You get about 50% of our daily situation reports. If you're a paying member, you get all of them plus a whole bunch of other things. Today's sit rep, I want to say, is 130 some odd pages long. It's just for paying members, but if somebody wants to buy it, they can pay $3.99. We don't set the price. Patreon won't allow us to go below that. I'd be happy to just charge 99 cents, but they won't let us do that. So moving on to the next one. RFK Jr. promises to ensure tax dollars support healthy foods, scrutinize chemical additives in food supply. So this is another one of those examples of our food supply being poisoned by greedy companies. And I mean, I'm not just a libertarian lowercase L. I'm a hardcore capitalist. I believe big time in MEI, merit, excellence, and intelligence, and that the harder you work, the more you should make. And if you sit around with your thumb up your ass as a fresh air inspector, I think you should be happy to get anything from the state, to be quite frank. So when we look at the ingredient lists on food in America versus food elsewhere, RFK said something a couple months ago. He's like, Fruit Loops in the United States have, this many ingredients. And if you look at Fruit Loops in Canada, it doesn't have as many ingredients. Well, some asswipe got the label off the Canadian box and just bullshit numbers. If there were 20 ingredients in the American version, there were like 19 in the Canadian version. And the person said, see, RFK's lying, 19 versus 20 sort of thing, right? Without looking at the ingredients where, they were using, I can't remember exactly what all the products were, but like strawberries to make the food look red in Canada and carcinogenic red dye here in America. It was a completely bullshit comparison and analysis, but the best one I've seen, Jeff, is that McDonald's French fries have like a gazillion chemicals in them, right? And put them in a baggie and put them somewhere. And whether you put an O2 absorber or not, 10 years later, they look exactly the same because there's so many freaking chemicals in them, right? Whereas if you look at the British and European versions of McDonald's French fries, potatoes, salt, and the oil they were cooked in. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
And
McDonald's used to be potato. It was potato, salt, and tallow.
and that was my next point. So my wife has been using tallow forever and a day, you know, and beef tallow in particular, so beef fat, and it makes a lot of food taste a lot better. Like I would encourage people not to use pork tallow so much. To be honest with you, I can't get the smell past my nose. It smells like a freaking pig pen. But point being, at the end of the day, that somebody recently, it might have been In-N-Out Burger, Jeff, said that from going forward, all of their fried products will be in beef tallow as opposed to all these vegetable oils.
Yeah,
So
it's better for you.
yeah, suffice it to say that there's so many aspects to the Department of Health and Human Services with all those sub-agencies underneath them. It's a complex web they have woven, right? And none of it has been in our interest as American people. And I'm personally really happy to see this happen. You know, I've been training for many, many years. And one of the things that has always bothered me is I've watched trainers from gyms see somebody walk past the front door, go out and grab them by the arm, pull them in to give them a free assessment, right? So they've got calipers out for body fat and this and that. And they sign them up for a membership that they can basically never cancel, charging them whatever, 20, 30 bucks a month. And then they sell them a personal trainer package. And then I see the person come back the next day who hasn't exercised in years, is overweight, and they work them like a dog. And 2 weeks later, you never see them again because in the last few days you see them, they're limping back to their car. They have purposely messed them up by starting them too hard because they don't want them to come back. I think I may have told you this before. I had lunch with the former CEO of Planet Fitness, and he shakes my hand, you know, nice to meet you and everything like that. And this is something I'm fairly passionate over. And I said, I got to ask you a question. How come you give pizza away and Tootsie Rolls away to your members? That's like the complete antithesis of eating healthy, being healthy, getting in shape. And he said, well, we don't let people cancel their memberships. This was in downtown Dallas, by the way. We make it impossible for people to cancel their membership. So we placate them by saying, well, you can swing by on Mondays and get free pizza and stuff. So many people give up on trying to get the refund or get their account canceled. And we didn't have a very pleasant conversation, put it that way. That's so exact opposite of what that guy should have been doing. But anyway, again, who gives a shit? It's just Chris Evan.
Their job is to make money. It's not to get you healthy.
I can tell you right now, the number from that guy, direct from the CEO, 70% of people who pay memberships at that point in time to Planet Fitness never walked past the front desk after the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they want. They want a whole bunch of
The
people.
Old Friends episode where they tried to quit the gym and they couldn't.
Exactly. So here's another example of our, legacy media, Mockingbird media, doing nothing but spewing propaganda. So before the hearing even started today, a reporter was caught writing up their negative article on RFK. You can see somebody managed to capture this picture right here. If anybody wants to, digest this particular article, it's on InfoWars. You can find it easy, or you can go grab our situation report. But let's just play just this one here. Astounding. Reporters at RFK hearing have pre-written negative headlines. So that is a person zooming in on that. And this person's sitting there writing up their negative article on RFK before a word was even said. Sorry. I forgot to flip it over here. So let me go back. Sorry, my apologies. So that's the reporter, and this is the close-up of their screen. So it no surprise, right? I mean, this shouldn't surprise anybody. This is all they do. You know, they used to be infotainment at best, propaganda-tainment at worst. Now it's just straight up propaganda-tainment, nothing else. Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren, Native American Elizabeth Warren, 1,024th of a Cherokee, freaks out over prospect of RFK Jr. suing big pharma companies. Let's have a quick look.
Take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
No. Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
Good science. So, Jeff, let me just throw this up and then run away with it. I was saving this for tomorrow night because I got a gazillion memes lined up for tonight. But here's the face of these angry mental white women.
And what people need to keep in mind too is that for all her preaching about him making money, she is number 2 or 3 in the Senate for collecting campaign contributions from pharmaceutical companies. I think number 1 is Bernie Sanders. She gets millions upon millions of dollars from pharmaceutical companies. And, you know, she, at one point there in the hearing, she said, you know, you promise that you won't go work for a pharmaceutical company after your term is done. And he just kind of laughed. He says, me? I think I'm the last person they want to work for them. But someone needs to go to her and say, okay, for all your pontificating, why don't you pledge right now that you will never accept another penny from a pharmaceutical company or big agriculture?
So what many Americans are not aware of, most people think in terms of lobbies that the military industrial complex is the biggest lobby. Not even close to big pharma. Nope. Big pharma by far and away the biggest lobby on the Hill.
And the biggest advertiser.
And the biggest advertiser. And, you know, for clarification there, why does big pharma advertise? It's not so that the average American says, oh, I'm going to ask my doctor about that drug. It's because they own the media companies lock, stock, and barrel, because if their money goes away, those media companies are screwed.
And when's the last time you saw an expose on a dangerous drug?
Exactly.
On 60 Minutes or 2020 or Dateline. It's been decades. Because they don't want to shit where they eat.
That's right. In a presidential election year, 50% of legacy media's ad revenue comes from big pharma. In a non-presidential election year, 70 to 75% of legacy media's ad revenue comes from big pharma. They own them lock, stock, and barrel. All right, moving on to the next one here. RFK Jr. just destroyed hyperventilating Senator Mark Warner. 34 seconds.
We do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Based on your opinion, based upon your opinion, or your political agenda, or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
Based upon my opinion.
I guess that means a lot of the folks who've had any type of views on vaccines will be out of work.
Let me back this up, Jeff. Let me see if I find a good shot. This guy's hands are literally shaking here. Let me see if it was in this clip here.
Warren?
Or Mr. Trump's political agenda.
Based upon my
Let me back that up. Look at the pinky on his right hand. I'll back it up a little bit further, but this guy's shaking like a leaf.
Based upon your opinion or your political agenda or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
based upon
I mean,
They hate him because he used to be one of them.
Yes.
And you've got the Kennedy is still the be all end all name in American politics. You know, the Clintons tried to supplant it and the Obamas too, but everybody still has on both sides of the aisle have fond memories of John F. Kennedy and Bobby and Camelot and all that crap. And the fact that a Kennedy has gone over to the other side has them apoplectic.
Well, we actually have an article coming up from one of his quotes from one of his family members. It's pretty interesting. But all right, next one up. Whiny liberal Senator RFK Jr. When did you decide to sell out your life's work and values to get this position? 1 minute, 40 seconds.
My question is exactly when did you decide to sell out your life's work and values to get this position?
Senator, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy.
So what you're telling us, just to be clear, because my time is limited, is that regardless of what you believe, regardless of what values you have, if President Trump tells you to do something, you're going to do it. You said just now the discussion about mifepristone. Oh, he's asked me to study the safety of it. Here are the safety studies that tell us mifepristone is safe and effective. And I asked Mr. Chair that these about 40 studies be admitted to the record by unanimous consent.
Without objection.
So the studies are there. The safety is proved. The science is there. But what you're telling us is if President Trump orders you to take action to make it harder for women to get direly needed health care, you'll follow his order. If Mr. Trump, as he did yesterday, orders a halt on Medicaid payments that are essential for taking care of people with disabilities all around this country, you're going to follow that order because you are willing to sacrifice your values, your knowledge, if President Trump tells you to do that. That to me is unacceptable in a Secretary of Health and Human Services.
As I explained before, the White House has issued a statement saying that that policy will not deprive any American.
Yeah, the problem.
Yeah, they don't want the truth.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, Jeff, I don't know how to describe this other than political theater. Is there any other words that come to mind for you?
It's a collective meltdown. I mean, it almost kind of reminds me of the old Russian show trials, you know, where they get some poor schlub there and they say, you plotted to kill Stalin, you might as well have had the gun in your hand. And, you know, the guy's like, what are you talking about? I was a colonel in charge of a brigade somewhere. You know, yeah, you can tell how desperate they are and by how upset they are.
Well, interesting point you make, though. You can tell. Okay, you can tell. I can tell. Our audience can tell. But there's a big portion of America that can't tell. They have no bullshit meter. And I'm not sure why that is, but they can't detect the dishonesty that the rest of us look at and go, that's a bald-faced lie. You know, they just spoon it up. They can't get enough. And I just completely cannot understand how people get that, you know, tuned out. All right, next one. Go ahead.
She lied. He corrected it, and then she cuts him off because she doesn't want to hear it when he said no Medicaid funding was impacted by the halt on, you know, grants.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Well, the disbursement of federal funds, essentially. Right. RFK Jr. just crushed Democrat weasel Ron Wyden for continuing to lie about him. 1 minute, 4 seconds.
All of these things cannot be true.
So this is the male version of the Karens we've seen.
Yeah. So Are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
All right, so
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden. So bringing this up right now is dishonest.
Well said. So, I mean, this whole thing of media, whether it be audio or video, being deceptively edited, when are they going to learn their lesson, Jeff? Because have you seen the number of wins that Trump has had lately?
Yeah.
He was just awarded $25 million from Facebook and Zuckerberg for shit that they did to him. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever learn. I hope they do.
I don't either. And this guy, I think we're going to have to call him a trans Karen.
I love it. Y'all heard that here first. Jeff MD.
Coined a new phrase, trans Karen.
Trans Karen. I'm telling you right now, that shall live on in perpetuity here on Survival Dispatch News. Trans Karen it is. I'm going to bring that up again many times, and I will quote you warmly and fondly. All right. So when I say that this is propaganda-tainment, you can't make this shit up. Look at this clown. So here's this, sworn communist who's anything but a communist, except for, he believes in communist things for you and me, but not for himself. Has a complete meltdown over these onesies for toddlers or infants or whatever. This guy's a fucking idiot.
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet you're.
By the way, RFK has nothing to do with these onesies at all.
It's not.
This is just bad theatrics on the part of a sworn communist piece of crap.
Organization is making.
Look, he's got you know what? I just noticed, Jeff. Look at the eyes on him. He has trans Karen eyes.
He does. He's another trans Karen.
Absolutely. God bless you for coming up with that.
Making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
leadership. Are you
leadership.
supportive of these ones?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
So, question for you, Jeff. Do trans Karens, are they against free speech?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's for themselves? Is that the way it goes?
Yes, you're entitled to their opinion, but not your own.
You know what, Jeff? We got to do up like a meme, and then it's got to have like the top 10 points of every trans Karen. All right, we're going to roll with that. All right, here we go. Elizabeth Warren has a humiliating psychotic breakdown, doing everything she can to protect her big corporate donors. RFK ends her in 7-second masterclass. And this is actually the video that we watched earlier And I forgot to take one of the two links out. So we're going to skip that. So we're not wasting anybody's time. Democrat Senator Bennett is currently screaming at HHS Secretary nominee RFK Jr. at the top of his lungs. Is this how Democrats plan to behave? Not letting Trump's nominee to get a single word in? 2 minutes, 46 seconds. I'll play about a minute.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded and NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted a study, Your
Okay.
Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that.
I'll take that as a
certain
yes.
races
I have
are
to move on,
disproportionately.
I have to move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all
disease
of our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
No, I never said that.
Okay, I have the record that I'll give to the chairman, and he can make his judgment about what you said. Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Okay, I'll give it to the chairman, Mr. Kennedy. And my final question, did you say on a podcast, and I quote, "I wouldn't leave abortion to the states. My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have the government involved, even if it's full term." Did you say that, Mr. Kennedy?
Senator, I believe that every abortion is a tragedy.
Did you say it, Mr. Kennedy?
I
This
believe-
matters. It doesn't matter what you come here and say that isn't true, that's not reflective of what you really believe, that you haven't said over decade after decade after decade, because unlike...
All right, I got to stop it there. What is it great? There's the snapshot of the trans Karen, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they ask a question, which their question is a statement, and they won't let you answer it.
Correct. While they wave their finger at you.
Yes.
Because I'm smarter than you are.
Shame on you.
Oh my God. All right. So another aspect to this whole thing, heading up the HHS, is the missing children. So this falls under multiple different agencies and departments. I'm not going to play the video down below. Actually, it's 27 seconds. You know what? I'll go ahead and play it. Then one more article to wrap up the first chapter.
Let me just reassure you that President Trump has personally spoken to me about locating those 300,000 children who disappeared over the last 4 years.
I don't think anybody has a fully accurate number, but it's hundreds of thousands. I agree.
And many of them we know have been sex trafficked and childhood slavery. And it is a blight on America's moral authority, and we need to find those kids.
So good to hear him bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's clearly, it needs to be a priority. All right. And last one up is an article on CBS. Carolyn Kennedy calls RFK Jr. a predator in letter to senators a day before his confirmation hearings. And it's not in that video, so I'll just read a little bit of this article. Carolyn Kennedy, the cousin of RFK Jr., sent a blistering letter to senators on Tuesday, a day before his confirmation hearings, that described him as a predator whose actions have cost lives. In the letter to committee leaders, the former ambassador to Australia urged senators to reject his nomination as Health and Human Services Secretary, alleging that he preys on the desperation of parents and sick children, as well as his own family members. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because he himself is a predator, the 2-page letter said. His basement, his garage, and his dorm room were the centers of the action where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in the blender to feed his hawks. It was often a perverse scene of despair and violence. And it goes on to tell more crazy stuff in detail. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, okay, if anyone's had a snake or a bird of prey, guess what? They eat meat. And you can buy frozen dead baby chickens and ducks and mice and everything. And if you have a bigger snake, you can buy dead frozen rabbits to feed them. Okay, big deal. Okay, he likes hawks. So do I. Don't have any, but big deal. And she pulls in all his drug stuff when he was young, and he has never denied that. He says, yeah, he was a heroin addict. He says it. But if you look at him now, he's probably the healthiest 72-year-old you'll ever freaking see.
For sure.
Turned his life around, and he's done a good job with it. So what?
I'm fond of.
If he's still a drug addict, a heroin addict, okay, that's an issue. But the fact that he was a heroin addict in the 60s, yeah.
I'm fond of the old adage that the only thing that stays the same is that nothing stays the same. And when people are willing to write somebody off or cancel them over one thing, that's just total BS in my book. You know, there's only one perfect person who's ever stepped foot on this earth. And if you ask any of us who are Christians, we'll say that Jesus Christ. So we're supposed to expect that Donald Trump, RFK Jr., you, me, and everybody else, as soon as you make one mistake, that's it, you're done. People grow over time, right? We all grow over time. I had less than zero pragmatism when I was in my 30s and my 20s and earlier. And now I do things that I think to myself, frig, I wish I had done that years ago. I probably could have saved myself a bunch of grief, you know.
They're talking about stuff that happened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
But
is anyone the same person they were 50 years ago?
But it's like you said, though, is it still happening? Is this pattern still underway? And if the answer is no, and the person has done good things since then, is there no redemption? Nobody can redeem themselves under any circumstances.
Well, in that case, we should just get rid of Alcoholics Anonymous and just basically turn it into a place where you just go and put them to sleep. Put them down like a rabid dog. People can turn their lives around.
So there's certain things that I feel once you cross the line, there's no going back, and you cannot be rehabilitated. So I think child predators,
yes,
you either have that in you or you don't. Rapists, all these, Jeffrey Dahmer, all these different people. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to fix those people. You're not going to redeem them. They are the devil incarnate. They're downright evil. There's nothing we can do to help them. But there's so many stories of one person after another who's made a mistake, whether they ended up in jail or not, and redeemed themselves by doing great things. And this whole thing of canceling people over one mistake, and the person admits they made a mistake, they made up for the mistake, and they've done nothing but good stuff since, but we're still never supposed to, well, straight up question, Jeff, it's a really simple yes or no question. Is there anybody else that you can think of that's better equipped to turn America around than Donald Trump?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. Do you feel that Operation Warp Speed was a good thing or not a good thing?
The idea was a good thing. And the vaccine itself, I'm not a big fan, obviously, but I think they made it, from a good thing, they made it sound like it was the savior, and it wasn't. And by forcing it down people's throats, they did more harm than good. If they had just said, we're going to give it to the immune compromised, the elderly, people with COPD, people who are going to be more likely to be negatively impacted by COVID, that'd have been one thing. But it'd be like, any other vaccine. If I work with wild animals, I may want a rabies vaccine. But to give everybody on the planet a rabies vaccine, it makes no sense, because there's side effects and there's adverse reactions. So I think the idea of Warp Speed was great. Okay, we've got this new disease. Let's put all of our efforts into coming up with a vaccine to combat it. But then the vaccine became the be all end all. And the thing is, Fauci is a vaccine guy. And it's like, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
That's right.
And one of the reasons the AIDS epidemic got as bad as it did is because Fauci was in charge of that too, by the way. Go look it up. He put all his eggs in one basket, which was, we're going to develop a vaccine for AIDS. We still don't have a vaccine for AIDS, but there are a lot of treatments now, which are very successful. And, AIDS is not the death sentence it used to be. But how many people died because Fauci said, no, it can only be a vaccine. That's the only solution. And that's kind of what they did we saw it with ivermectin. Ivermectin works, but they didn't want to hear it because it wasn't their narrative. Their narrative was vaccine, 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 because Fauci's a vaccine guy.
Yeah. So hindsight's 2020. And I'm not saying that I would have been better equipped than Trump to make the decision at the beginning, but I personally think Operation Warp Speed in hindsight was a mistake.
Yep.
And Donald Trump Jr. has said that Donald Trump Sr. has never copped to making a single mistake in his entire life that he's aware of. And that may be true. And I don't really care, to be quite frank, but I think that was a mistake. And do I think he would do it again? No, I don't think he would do it again. He's a smart man. He learns from his mistakes, whether he wants to admit it or not. So when you've heard this before, but I've had people in Todd's group who are way smarter than I am, send all these emails that we can't vote for Trump because of Operation Warp Speed, and he never apologized for it and everything. I never reply to that list. They're all doctors and attorneys and stuff. I'm just the dummy Forrest Gump in it. So I don't say anything, but that's the one and only time I replied all and said, okay, well, who are we supposed to vote for then? Nikki Haley? You out of your freaking mind? I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because he made a mistake, but I'm going to vote for some shitbag stooge that the NWO and globalists control. Anyway, we beat that to death. That is the end of the first chapter of tonight's show. We've got a short message from our friends at Sawyer Products, and we'll be right back.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right, so we're ready to jump into chapter 2. We've got a dozen or so headline stories to share with you all tonight. We fought hard on our part for Pete Hegseth. If you're a regular viewer of SDN, you saw we did at least 5 videos supporting Pete, and could not be happier that he has been, confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. This is the kind of stuff that we wanted to see out of him. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has revoked General Mark Milley's security detail and security clearance. Hegseth is now planning on demoting the general. Hegseth also ordered the removal of all Pentagon portraits of Milley. Total humiliation. This guy is an embarrassment and a disgusting, person. He took control of our military behind Donald Trump's back. He phoned the Chinese, said, I'm in control. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. He went to school with Richard Levine, the previous Secretary of Health and Human Services. He's hardcore into DEI, transgender this, transgender that. I had a really good conversation today with our friends at the MacArthur Society. And these are people way smarter than I am. These are officers. They've got educations, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, this may sound overly simple, but after all the time that I've spent conversing with special forces guys, is that I don't care what the topic is in relation to our military. I have one question. Does this improve or weaken our lethality? Because if it doesn't improve our lethality, that begs the question, why are we doing it? And if it lessens our lethality, that not only begs the question, it's like, why the fuck are we doing this if it decreases our lethality? This piece of crap harmed our lethality more than anybody probably since the founding of our country. I don't know if you want to add to that, but he's a bad dude, man. You're on mute, Jeff.
He is the John Brennan of the Department of Defense. Complete political hack.
Well said. Does he qualify, by the way, as a trans Karen at all? Maybe.
I'd have to hear him speak, but he probably does.
You've seen the memes of him all dolled up in makeup and stuff. I mean, if that doesn't make you trans Karen, I don't know what does. All right, next one up. Of course, everybody by now has seen the infamous video that Selena Gomez published crying, "These are my people." And good old Dr. Phil came along, whacked her with a sense of reality. Dr. Phil to Selena Gomez, "Dry your eyes, rapists don't deserve your tears." God bless them. You know what? Here, what the hell? Just for shits and grins, we'll play this one more time for everybody.
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything.
So I have a suggestion. She's a billionaire. She has multiple homes. Why don't you set one up, or 2 or 3 of them up for some illegals to live in?
Yeah, the house she lives in is over 10,000 square feet.
Lots of room.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was last night or if it's tonight. I've got it queued up, but she's crying over the children and everything like that. And these are gang members. These are hardened criminals that we're throwing out for crying out loud. Like,
they're in leg irons for a reason.
Yeah. So speaking of which, I mean, we've all had apprehensions over the state of our border now for an extended period of time. And this is an interesting headline. The article just, goes a little deeper, which we don't have to get into. But I would hazard to guess that people like you and me, our audience, we're still concerned over the border. And we want to get these illegals out of our country. But we're not seeing the situation get worse and worse every day. We're seeing the exact opposite now. So it's still a high priority item, but it's not like, holy crap, how bad can things get? We've seen the bottom. We're bouncing back from it. I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not, Jeff.
No, I mean, you got to stop the bleeding before you can heal. So
exactly. Well said. Excuse me. So move on to the next one here. So much like the people of West North Carolina that were just hung out to dry, the old Biden admin did the same thing to our astronauts trapped in space. So lo and behold, you can't make this stuff up. Donald Trump is now going to save them. I mean, I'm sure there's some conspiracy theorists out there who think Donald Trump is part of this global cabal and stuff, which he's clearly not. But let's just humor that thought for a minute. They think this is all scripted out, right? So, they use the Biden admin to create these problems so that Trump could come in and fix the problems and claim that, he's, America first. Clearly that's not the case. He's absolutely America first. I have a hard time squaring the decisions that were made by the Biden admin, other than to say they were under the direct control of our enemies. There's no other explanation I can think of. So that's the update on that. Now, for the best laugh of chapter 2 tonight is this. So this lady here was fired amongst multiple other inspector generals. This is the USDA inspector general. And she decided she was going to go to work anyway. And she had to be physically removed. So Phyllis Fong, the inspector general of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, was removed from her office by security personnel after she did not comply with her dismissal by the Trump administration. This event took place on Monday, January 29th, 2025. Reports indicate that Fong resisted her firing, leading to her being escorted out. The action has raised questions regarding adherence to federal laws concerning the notification process for such dismissals. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. I guess there's some little footnote somewhere that says you got to give Congress or somebody 30 days notice. You can say, yeah, I'm going to remove her in 30 days and I'm getting her out of the office today. As long as those 30 days are with pay, so you're not firing her, you're suspending her. And then you're firing her at the end of the 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Trump made the right move by getting these people out of office as fast as possible, because we're back to hitting bottom and, turning the ship around. So I don't know. I have no sympathy for somebody like her who has to be physically removed. You got fired, deal with it. If you think that you have a legit case, take it to court. Take it to the EEOC, take it to court, whatever. All right. Breaking news. President Trump expected to sign executive order today to deport pro-Hamas students. And he did sign it, by the way. The order will seek deportation of resident aliens, including students with visas who broke laws as part of anti-Israel protests following the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. It will instruct all federal agencies to identify civil and criminal authorities available to combat anti-Semitism, including finding ways to deport anti-Jewish activists who break the laws. Thoughts on that, Jeff? I
love this and people think, oh, they have free speech. Yes, you do have free speech, but these are foreign nationals. And while they still have the right of free speech, they don't have the right to break the law. Notice it's people who broke the law. And if you are here as a guest of this country, meaning you are on a visa or resident alien, you're still here at the pleasure of the United States. You do not have the full rights of a U.S. citizen. And if you break the law, they can kick you out, and they should.
So I made a point sometime in the recent past that our Constitution is the U.S. Constitution. It is not the world Constitution.
Yep.
And the rights that are detailed in the U.S. Constitution are for American citizens. End of story.
Yep.
They are not for non-citizens. And this has been argued, ad nauseum for many, many years. And at the end of the day, the American Constitution is for Americans, period.
And the responsibilities outlined in it are also for Americans. Just like if you're a foreign national going to school in the United States, you can't be drafted into the military.
Correct. Yep, well said. Not sure if you caught this or not, but Elon Musk has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for protecting free speech. 33 seconds.
One place where you can find out the truth.
Yes.
And
the only place.
Yeah.
So how much pressure, to the extent you can say, has there been on you to shut it down or to censor it?
Well, I mean, apart from the multiple Democrats saying that I should go, they want to put me in jail, take away all government contracts from my companies, nationalize my companies, deport me as an illegal, and have me arrested because I'm apparently Putin's best friend. Nothing besides those things.
So, I mean, just to make it clear here, we are not Elon fanboys. He has restored a serious element of free speech, but not all of it. There's still plenty of stuff happening under the hood on X that targets conservatives. We've been subject to it. We know other people have been subject to it. He deserves credit for the good he's done, but he's not the Messiah. Let's just leave it at that. All right, next one up. Trump orders preparation of Guantanamo Bay facility to house migrants. Not sure if you caught this or not, Jeff, but this is a pretty big deal. I'll let you run with this one.
Well, yeah, I think that, we basically let everybody out of there, but we still have the facility. And I think it's a great place to put people, especially the ones that you're trying to get out of the country and their home countries are still pushing back. Like say a Venezuela. Well, you got a Venezuelan gang member. You don't want him here in Venezuela. We won't take him back just yet. Well, you put him in Guantanamo, and then when the time comes, you ship their butts down there because it's a lot closer to Venezuela Cuba's closer to Venezuela than the U.S. is, so
Yeah.
it won't take as long to get rid of them.
Yeah, I
And
think
if anybody complains, you can just say, hey, tell their home country to take them back.
Yeah, this is a great idea. He's really coming up with some great ideas on what to do with all of these illegals that we're turfing out of the country. I'm in favor of just throw them out of the back of the plane, but that probably makes me a bad person or something. I don't really care. All right. Deputies with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department find a 100-year-old woman left behind after her assisted living home evacuated without her during the Los Angeles fires. 59 seconds.
Sheriff's Department, anybody inside? Just like monitor looking out the windows to see like where the fire. Oh shoot.
Sir, copy that, sir. I'll give you a call right now.
Oh my gosh. Sheriff's Department, anybody inside? You gotta evacuate. Hello?
Hello? Where you at?
Where are you?
Hello? Where are you? Oh, hi. Okay, perfect. Is anyone else with you?
No.
Okay.
Where were you at?
What?
Which room were you from?
I've been trying to find a way out.
Let's get you out of
Yeah,
here.
let's get you out.
Where
Okay.
do I go? But don't lose me.
I promise I
No, we
won't.
won't lose you. Don't worry. Okay. Thank goodness. We've been yelling. Did you hear us?
I didn't hear. I'm deaf.
Okay.
And I couldn't charge my hearing aids.
How crazy is that, Jeff?
California.
How can you be in charge of an assisted living facility and not even be able to manage a roll call for evacuees?
Do a head count, if nothing else. Okay, have somebody walk through and check every room.
I mean,
it's just stupid.
As I'm watching her, I'm thinking to myself, do you remember like way back when, like in kindergarten and preschool days, where they had the yellow rope with the handles on it and we all had to hold on to this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they don't do that these days, but back in the day, that's how they kept track of all of us.
Hey, if this was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop, he'd have been on top of it.
There you go. Exactly. All right. Next one up. This is a very heartwarming story. I'm not going to play all the videos because I'm going to end up running tight on time here tonight, or we're going to end up running tight on time.
Yeah, I've got about before I got to bail anyway.
Yeah, I would highly encourage our audience to check this out on InfoWars because there's all kinds of videos of all this stuff happening. And Laken Riley's family was there when he signed this into law, the Laken Riley Act. And he also announced the executive order on Guantanamo. But this is our president. This is how our president behaves versus Obama and his minions. And if nothing else makes you proud to be American, then something like this should. All right, next one up. This is actually Trump.
Today, I'm also signing
Trump's brief address on Guantanamo. We'll play that before we move on. 49 seconds.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back. So we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will double our capacity immediately, right? And that's a tough place to get out of. Today's signings bring us one step closer to eradicating the scourge of migrant crime in our communities once and for all. And it was just it's just an unforced error that
I had no idea that we had 30,000 beds there. That's a big number.
I think it's left over from one of the Haitian mess ups. When the Haitians were fleeing and stuff like that. We took them there.
It's impressive. Big number.
Years ago. Yeah.
So here's the one I alluded to earlier. Breaking. President Trump just won a massive $25 million settlement against Mark Zuckerberg for banning his accounts. 22 million of that will go to President Trump's presidential library. The winning just doesn't end.
I had not heard this one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, next one up. Breaking borders are Tom Homan is not satisfied with the pace of deportations and says they must increase. We need more, a lot more deportations. That's what we're working on. So that was from yesterday. Trump said he wanted to see 1,200 a day deported, and Tom Homan, off the record, has said to mutual contacts of ours, he's aiming for 2,000 a day for the short term, but wants to see that go up as well. So definitely interesting times that we live in, right?
Yeah.
So we have a short 32-second message for our friends at Flex Industries, flexindustries.com. Badass triggers. I have them in a bunch of my guns. These are legal triggers. This is the AK trigger, which
and I have to step out once you're done.
Fair enough. I've got chapter 3. I've got like a gazillion memes to share with our friends tonight, but it's important that we support our sponsors, because if we don't support our sponsors, then they no longer sponsor us. And if we don't get sponsored, we can't afford to work insane hours putting together everything that we do for y'all. And it's not just Survival Dispatch News, by the way. We have Jason Sawyer on 3. We've got JJ Morris from Fuel the Fires, Bill Stoker from Stokermatic, Tyler White from TJAC Survival, and the list goes on. We have a pretty big family at Survival Dispatch. A lot of moving parts, a lot of money to make everything work. So again, if you help support our sponsors, they continue to support us, and everybody's happy. Plus you get badass triggers from Flex Industries. So I'm going to put them up. Jeff, I appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay. Bye.
AK Flex. AK Flex. The crazy part about this thing, it can fit in all platforms. This right here is in a 9mm. We run it in the 7.62, 5.45, short, even in the Draco, the long 16-inch. AK Flex, baby.
Quick question for our audience there. Did you have audio on the AK Flex promo video? Put a number 1 in the chat if you had that audio. I got an error message here, and I'm not sure if it's related to the next piece that we had coming, to that piece, or maybe Jeff going. I got a yes there. So number 1, you guys had sound on. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, so we shall move on to chapter 3. We have one video to start chapter 3, and then everything after that are just static memes. Somebody posted this in our insider chat. Can't remember who it was. Apologies, but appreciate it, because this is pretty funny stuff. And do me a favor, when you see this video come up, let me know in the chat if you've got audio coming through on it as well. If you've got audio on this one, put a number 2 in the chat so I know that you're getting that.
Are you afraid of being mistaken or outed as a white supremacist? Doctors say Americans accidentally make Nazi salutes 6 to 8 times a year. That's why we've made Shoulder Lock, the safe way to stop your arm from exceeding the crucial Sig Heil threshold. Allow me to demonstrate. I'm going to think the most racist thing I can, but it looks like I'm patting a small child on the head or perhaps assessing the height of a penguin, not a Nazi salute. But don't take my word for it.
Thanks to Shoulder Lock, nobody knows my secret.
What if someone makes an ambiguous gesture which could be a Nazi salute? We prescribe Don't Assume It All. When you're on Don't Assume It All and there's ambiguity, you err on the side of basic human decency. Side effects may include friendship, calm Thanksgiving dinners, and sharing a country with people with whom you disagree. What if you have emotional problems and you don't have sufficient data to argue with people about politics on policy issues? Well, in that case, we recommend a glass of Shut the Fuck Up. Are you afraid of...
So again, whoever sent that video to the insider chat, thank you very much. That's some funny stuff right there. All right, well, I'm going to do my best in the next half hour or so to get through as many memes as I possibly can. So this is a funny one. Do you have any guns at home? I have guns in your office. That got posted to our insider chat as well. And I saw somebody, it might have been S2, that said, I've done this meme before. So have I. Used to have a contract with the UCF, University of Central Florida, where I hosted a CEO group on one of their campuses. And my contact there used to always say, "You're carrying again today, aren't you?" And I'm like, absolutely. I said, I'm not going to, a gun-free zone and putting my life on the line because just because you put the sign up says no guns allowed doesn't mean that the bad guys are going to adhere to that. And this particular individual is one of the few people in post-secondary education on our side. And he said, if for whatever it's worth, I appreciate you being here and caring. So, all right, next one up. Check out the camo on this dude, man. We've got some camo from Confusion Camo, also referred to as the Ghost Hoodie. That's really, really good for the Southeast. It's really hard to see, but for something like this, looks more like something for the Southwest. I mean, this is badass camo, man. I mean, the rifle's done up in the camo, his helmet, the entire suit. You would have one heck of a time seeing that guy from any type of distance. So whoever made that camo, kudos, good job. All right, up next, Bill Gates is not an expert on anything except stealing software. Bill Gates is a Bond villain who wants to darken the sun and force us to eat fake meat. Never finished college, not an engineer, not a doctor, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, not elected, owns virus patents, owns vaccine companies, visited Epstein Island 37 times, not several times. His only qualification is money. Up next, so we were at SHOT Show last week. This picture was taken at SHOT Show last week in Vegas. And I don't know what the number was. I want to say that there were around 100 people at SHOT Show that all had shirts on that said ATF is gay. And they kept going up to the ATF booth. So at any point in time, there was always a handful of people around the ATF with these shirts saying ATF is gay. And then the same people behind that initiative had this sign truck driving around outside the Venetian, which is where SHOT Show was. Funny stuff. All right, this just in, closing the border is projected to create mass shortages of drugs, rapists, and new Democrat voters. Imagine that. Illegal migrant raids spark civil war as teacher turns on his own students with startling message to ICE agents. A Texas teacher sparked outrage after urging Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to target his own students because they don't even speak English. The teacher, who goes by @Hookem232 on X but has not been identified by officials, sparked an investigation from the Fort Worth Independent School District following his social media posts. This is my home county in Texas, Tarrant County. Well done, sir. That's got to be tough to be a conservative amongst all the liberals. And I would have never thought that Tarrant County would be infected by liberals, but it has been happening for quite some time now. Illegal aliens send $56 billion in cash to their home countries. That was last year. That's after their kids enjoyed free education, free lunches, and free medical care paid for by you and me. Imagine that. All right. And this is just another one from the teacher in Texas. Brock's been through a lot of dick. So anybody who thinks that that's just a joke and we're not, being fair, targeting Barack Obama, go and read his memoirs from when he was a college student. And he wrote many, many stories and fantasies about having gay sex. If you're into that stuff, whatever. I'm not into it. My people are not into that sort of stuff. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, that Barack Obama, like most of these other clowns, has some pretty twisted beliefs and experiences and practices when it comes to deviant behavior. All right, up next from Donald Trump himself. When I was 18, people called me Donald Trump. When he was 18, Barack Obama was Barry Soweto. Weird. That's a tweet from 13 years ago. Wow. Oldie but a goodie. With MAGA in charge, new rhino removal project targets sellout Republicans. So this is what the Tea Party was supposed to be when it came around, whatever it's been now, 15, 16 years ago. These guys are actually making a change. I've had some conversations with these guys, and they're hammered down on working against the Mitch McConnells of the world. And none too soon, in my opinion. Should have been done a while ago. And here we go. I'm in danger. Yes, you are. For anybody who hasn't caught it, there's some African. I know, I see you, buddy. Mama be home soon. I know. Get down. This is little buddy here. I know. What are you doing? Here, you want to be on camera? Here's Mr. Wigglebutts. Aren't you? All right. That's our little male rescue buddy. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but we'll move on to the next meme. Media elites whine they are exhausted just 5 days into Trump's presidency. So I've been collecting memes for the past week. I haven't had a chance to unload all of them. So that's why that's from would be last Friday. Here's a little song I wrote called Shove Your Vaccine Up Your Ass. Hopefully that doesn't get this video pulled down in a strike. Knock on wood. All right. Dude, I've never made it to this level before. I have no idea what to do. Go outside and play. Imagine that. All right. Check out the bald eagles sitting at this guy's front door. If that's not glorious, I don't know what is. Absolutely amazing. All right. Arkansas men arrested for taking turns shooting each other while wearing bulletproof vest after drinking. Down here, God forbid men have hobbies. That's like the ultimate hold my beer moment right there. All right. All wars are bankers' wars. Change my mind. Amen to that. This is what I voted for. Donald Trump running through the China. All right. Deport it, drill it, ditch it, drain it. Those are all initiatives that I can get behind. Survival Dispatch can get behind. Bear with me for a second while I load up the next batch of memes. If we manage to get through all of these memes tonight, I think it'll be like some sort of Survival Dispatch news record. I'm going to do my best to try and get through before we wrap up the show. By my count, we could go for a maximum of another 30 minutes or so. So again, just got to bear with me while I load up all of these. I'd load them up in advance, but we have so many of them that I wouldn't be able to distinguish between one tab and the next. I've tried it before and it didn't work out so good. So, all right, here we go. Next one up. Get in, loser. We're going to make some liberals cry. It seems to be a daily event. The look you get when your husband is about to destroy the people that raided your underwear drawer. I would say that Trump 2.0 and Melania 2.0 are absolutely not the same people they were in 2017. And keep talking shit, England. And we'll change that to the George Washington channel because Keir Starmer, the leader of the UK, has said that they are not going to recognize the Gulf of America. They will continue to refer to it as the Gulf of Mexico, but Google has bent the knee and they are now referring to it properly as the Gulf of America. Doctor, I'm so depressed because Trump is president. I see. Have you tried shaving your head and recording a TikTok in your car while you cry about it? So weak, so weak. Here we go. I forgot we even had a meme in here. Great Britain will refuse to refer to the Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America. We stopped caring what the Brits have said since 1776. Tongue-in-cheek comment, of course. We love our cousins. All right. If this is a Christian pastor, then this is authentic Mexican food. Romeo, where the fuck is you, Romeo? 1968, 1996, 2013, 2024. Call it the Netflix adaptation. All right. Now, I don't know if y'all caught this. There was a guy who stole a bunch of money from investors or whatever, and a picture was put up on somebody's X not recently, and he's wearing these crazy skinny jeans and boots. Well, somebody actually discovered it's a trend being set by none other than Gavin Newsom. Any males watching this, don't dress like this. It sends a bad signal. You do not want to be seen dressed like this. Trust me. All right. Next up, what the redneck did I just stumble upon? So I think the first person I sent this to was Mike Sterling. He was like, I got to get that. So that is a great helmet for people in Appalachia. All right. World Economic Forum. As humanity moves further toward a post-carbon future, people must accept that things like eating meat and property ownership is simply unsustainable, says Klaus Schwab. Such a piece of shit. This unelected guy had the nerve to, one, say that Americans clearly are not mature enough to govern themselves, and that the WEF runs the world, and that they're going to whip us American voters into line. And then 2 days later went on to say that when somebody assassinates Donald Trump, they will be given a pardon by the World Economic Forum and will be revered as a hero. I mean, I could go off on a crazy rant on this, but I'm going to keep it light because it's chapter 3 and we're supposed to be laughing. All right. It's okay for you to believe what you believe. It is not okay for you to insist that everyone else believe the same as you. And that right there is probably the biggest thing that offends those of us who haven't had our brains turned to shit like the other people on the left. And I believe I mentioned this one previously. I don't think I had a chance to show it, but DEI, Donald ended it. Beautiful stuff. Next one up, weak and gay, strong and alpha. I have a suspicion that we may have actually put that one up before. From George Orwell, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. Ain't that the truth? We're going to Mexico to vote in their elections and demand free health care while waving the American flag. If they ask for our papers, we'll riot, attack police, and sue them. You up for a road trip? I mean, how stupid does that sound? And yet that's what the Democrats want to happen here in America. And I'm sure that we've actually shown this one before. Indistinguishable from Nazi propaganda. America, your new Secretary of Defense. I think we showed that. That being said, it's still valid and worth taking in. So I'm looking at this next set of memes, and I think we've shown a bunch of these. So you're going to have to bear with me for a second so that I can drill down to hopefully something that we haven't put in. So many memes, hard to keep track of all of them. Maybe that one belongs in. And again, I apologize for a brief delay here while I try to figure out which one of these. Can't remember if we did all of these, but I'm going to try clean some of them out before we go any further. I don't think that's been in there. All right, we're going to roll with where I'm at right now, and I'll load more up in a minute, but hopefully we haven't shown these ones before. So this is pretty badass. Obviously, a troop transport plane shipping out illegals. These are people who are in the process of being deported. That was from last week. This one's pretty funny. Married Colombian President Gustavo Petro says he's not gay after he's seen in Panama with trans woman Linda Ypes, maybe, which this is her here in the blue dress. This is, I don't know if that's her or if that's his wife on that side. I've seen some better pictures of this mentally ill male, and it's not pretty at all. 14 million kids living in poverty in America, but Democrats fight for illegals. No excuse. And trans women are women, and executive orders don't change that. I beg to disagree. All right. Who's ready to see Pam Bondi launch an investigation into Adam Schiff once she becomes Attorney General? So if you would like to see her investigate Schiff, do me a favor, throw a 3 in the chat. And while you're doing that, I will queue up the next round of memes. Again, I'm still coming across some that my not so good memory anymore thinks that we may have shown previously. So you have to bear with me here for a minute while I go through this massive volume of memes that I had lined up. This won't happen again next time because I literally unloaded every single meme that I had in my downloads folder into today's stuff. I think I've still got a couple repeats in here, but I'm going to go through them fast. The fuck around stage was 2020 to 2024, and the find out stage has now started 2025 to 2029. This one here I'm just going to show really quickly because this is definitely the stuff that YouTube will throw a strike at you for. Gun control advocates want to hold the manufacturer for this shot liable, but not this shot. Yeah, imagine that. All right. ICE deportation ticker. So this is an account on X, obviously. I made a note of it. I wanted to show it to y'all. If you're on X, go ahead and follow them and you'll get daily updates. I'm still working on a ticker for SDN that will show that. Alaska knows what the people want. This Alaskan pizza shop has started adding targets to their boxes to be reused. Pretty good use there. I have a feeling this one has already been shown, so I'm going to skip by it. I think we showed that one as well. We definitely showed that one. I wanted to explore vegan options. Actually, we've seen this one before, but this one's worth repeating. I wanted to explore vegan options at seafood restaurants. I went to Jimmy's Seafood. When I asked for vegan options, they thought I was joking. Then I told them I was not joking. Then they insulted me. Jimmy's Seafood literally insulted me for asking if they had vegan options. Jimmy's Famous Seafood replies, we'd insult you on here too, but you'd get real upset and forget to take your estrogen pills. Oh, God bless Jimmy's Seafood. All right. The goal is not to trigger liberals. The goal is to save America. For some reason, that just so happens to trigger liberals. All right. The older I get, the more I identify with these two. I can second that one. Here's some updates here on ISIS, MS-13, and other criminals that have been arrested and are in the process of being deported or have already been deported. God bless ICE for doing that. Look at me. I'm still COVIDing. I actually think we posted that one before. Fun facts, the ass wipe on the left holds the same medical degree as the ass wipe on the right. True. This is my pride flag. Yes, it is. Hence the reason you see me always wearing our flag, or almost always wearing our flag. And this was when the cold snap hit here in Florida while we were out west. I think I may have put that one up already, but if that's not funny, I don't know what is. Apparently iguanas were literally falling out of the trees from the cold, and we don't see them very often here in Central Florida, but I can tell you South Florida is covered up in them. People go get them for pets for their kids, and then they discover about a year in just how big they get, and they let them go wild. And now we've got all kinds of feral iguanas that are not indigenous to Florida and actually are doing a fair bit of damage in some areas, like I said, in South Florida in particular. All right, I got the next round of memes lined up, but I have a feeling that a couple of these might be repeats as well. ICE spearheads attack on immigrants in Chicago. I don't know that I put that one up before, but I put it up now because words matter, and describing this as attacks is just hyperbole on the part of the legacy media. Can't recall if I put this one up, maybe, but 4 months into the best decision I ever made, male to female, 53 years old. Again, make asylums great again. Just total insanity. Oh, here's a good one. So these are clearly some DEI hires for law enforcement. Check out the holster here, and this one here is pointing at her armpit, and this one over here is pointing at her armpit. I mean, I don't know what to say. Next one I had up, I know that I shared before. Not sure if I shared this one. Exhausted media begs Trump to take a day off. Too funny. They actually got to work now. Jamaican drug dealer who beat his partner avoids deportation after judge rules he's the only person his gender questioning child can speak to about the issue. I think we put something up on that previously, but not that particular one. And this is from JD Vance's interview on the weekend with Margaret. I don't really care, Margaret. That one shall live on for quite some time. And this is what it looks like definitely in the southeast here when a state trooper's driving on the interstate. All right. However much you deny the truth goes on existing. George Orwell, more wise words from him. And for those of us who were born in the 60s and grew up in the 70s, this is what remote controls looked like back when we were kids. Very true. And yeah, a couple more faces from this witch. I really don't care, Margaret. I'll bet you unlimited amounts of money that she's taking at least 3 SSRIs, maybe more. All right, I stand with Trump, the only president to piss off both parties. I'm sure that we've played that one before, actually. This is good. This is all the faces, Margaret's faces. Not right in the head. I don't know how else to describe people like her. Hey, libtards, shut the fuck up. After years of insults, lawfare, and relentless attempts to strip away our constitutional rights, you suddenly want bipartisanship? Fuck off. We're not interested. So my line of thinking is there will be no reconciliation with people who think that there's 378 genders and you cut your dick off and become a woman. Just not going to happen. But if you want to see the crap that the legacy media pumps out, check this out. Were Adam and Eve black transgender refugees? The answer is emphatically no. Are you fucked in the head? Seriously. All right, next one up. Police officer, an ordinary person facing extraordinary circumstances and acting with courage, honor, and self-sacrifice. So we routinely get hate mail, by the way, from people saying that we kowtow to cops way too often and all cops are bad and blah, 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 blah. You know what? There's good and bad people in every walk of life. The vast majority of people, at least in America or Western countries, are good people. And that extends to the cops as well. And this whole mantra that all cops are bad and all cops are killers and all this stuff is complete and utter bullshit. And if you don't like me saying that, and you don't like my partners here at Survival Dispatch saying that, we are not the channel for you. You should be following somebody else. When a cop makes a mistake and they did it with intention and they suffer the consequences of that mistake, we will be the first ones to support that. But this concept of all cops are bad is not true. It is complete bullshit. These are people who put their lives on the line for us every day, and they deserve to be respected. So next one up, this is some funny shit. Next, Trump should assign only Secret Service DEI hires to Clinton, Obama, and Biden. This is like pure brilliance. Gotta love that. Man, I just saw a comment up here on one of my screens. I think it's Robertson, pardon me. That crack about Adam and Eve was straight out of the pit of hell. Amen to that. All right, Pennsylvania Democrats propose erasing sex from birth certificates. Call practice antiquated. What? I mean, you can't write this type of stupidity. For those of us who are a little older, this is kind of funny. Actually, it appears that we are slowly going back in time to rotary dial phones. Too freaking funny. I was at a Christmas party, I want to say about 10 years ago. And this guy had a huge group of friends. We got there early and he had a red rotary dial phone on the wall. And I was like, Joe, I said, when the next telemarketer calls, can I answer it? And he said, yeah, sure. Why? And I said, well, doing this on a modern day cell phone just doesn't have the same effect as slamming a phone down on a telemarketer. Please let me answer it. Nobody called. So I didn't get to have any fun with it. Excuse me, the birds want me to ask when you might be refilling the feeder. Anybody who's got bird feeders can attest to the fact that squirrels are pretty smart when it comes to getting the food. And this is good. If any of you homos touch me, I'll kill you. Right on. And balls. Finally, a president who has a pair. Amen to that. Oh my God, this is funny. That wasn't chicken, says the fortune cookie from the Chinese food restaurant. Oh my God. All right. And we're renaming Mount Rushmore or Mount Trumpmore. That's the next big thing coming. And we're putting Donald Trump front and center. Tell me that wouldn't piss off a bunch of the liberals. Here's another one. I'm pretty sure that we showed this before, but I'm going to show it again. MAGA, Make America Godly Again. And the next one up, from 4004 BC to 2020, there were 2 genders. 2021 to 2024, there was approximately 73 genders. But in 2025, we have gone back to the old way of thinking, and there are 2 genders. All right. The rhino removal project, because this isn't working. And that is so true. And this one's funny. Yes, honey, we are back to 2 genders. Yippee! Back to sanity, I would argue. And here's Bill Kill Everyone. Golly. Frankly, Margaret, I don't give a damn. Of course, done in old school format there. Gone with the Wind. Officials investigating link between Ozempic and eye rotting disease that makes people blind. I looked further into this because I know somebody who's taken Ozempic. It is somebody who's had major issues with my vision. So prosthetic eye on the left, pretty much went blind in my right eye a few years ago inside of about 72 hours, and had to have an intraocular lens surgically inserted before my brain turned the eye off. There's better ways to lose weight than taking these drugs and risking your vision. Don't do it. From somebody who's been through the vision thing, don't do it. We had a conversation, I want to say almost a week ago. I think we were at SHOT Show on who's been deployed from our military to the southern border. This is a list of assets as of yesterday that have been deployed. It's pretty significant. We're well beyond the initial 1,500. I didn't get the exact number today when I was putting stuff together, but I want to say that we're approaching 10,000 is one of the numbers I heard. All right. Teachers who teach small kids that they're born in the wrong body should be arrested for child abuse. I actually think we should write specific laws for this that speak specifically to this topic, and that the consequences should be severe. And I think the next step after this is that if somebody's a surgeon who cuts youngins' body parts off, genitalia off, should go to jail the rest of their life. And it's always the eyes, right? It's always the Charlie Manson eyes. Every last one of these lunatics has the Charlie Manson eyes. So when I say I don't understand how some people can't look at this stuff, look at these people, and their bullshit meter doesn't go off, and they don't, clue into the fact that they're being told lies. Man, when people have those types of eyes, they are literally insane, criminally insane, insane in every way you can possibly imagine. So give me just a second here. I'm queuing up the next round of memes. I'm looking at the clock here. 13 minutes. We may just get through all of these memes. If we don't, we don't, but getting there as fast as I possibly can. We're still looking for a producer, by the way. We would love to have a producer on Survival Dispatch News who could look after all this stuff while we're hosting the show. All right, next up from Charlie Kirk. If we only counted U.S. citizens in the census instead of illegal foreign nationals, California, New York, and Illinois would lose a combined 18 electoral votes. This is why Democrats want illegals to be counted in the census. So they would lose 18 electoral college votes, but they would also lose 28 seats in the House of Representatives to other states like Florida and Texas, etc. So hopefully by 2030, we have this sorted out and we're not counting illegals in our census. All right, LA mayor used fire department money to fund queer occult interest, Ebony Theater, Trans Cafe, and more. I think we showed that one. Apologies. All right, when you've loved a dog until the end, then you've known the deepest love and the deepest pain. This is true. We love our dogs. It always ends in heartbreak. On this side, stop deporting. On this side, no comprendo. That's good. All right. Selena Gomez is crying because children are being deported. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Speak MAGA and carry a big stick. Tariffs and sanctions. The world leaders who hate us or who've been living off of us are shitting their pants. Thanks to Donald Trump. God bless him. I believe we showed that one previously. We may have shown this one. This is freaking funny. When she's cute, but then starts telling you how liberal she is. Alrighty then. This is Christine Grady. She is the head of NIH Bioethics. They are the company that approves drugs for the FDA. This is her husband. Are you starting to get it? Crooked, crooked, crooked. All right. And speaking of deportation efforts, free tacos. The trap is set. Ready when you are. All right. When you are dead, you don't know that you're dead. All of the pain is felt by others. The same thing happens when you are stupid. Oh, God bless Sam. All right. And here we go. The sniffer in charge with that loser, Jim Acosta, who just got let go by CNN. So, question for the audience here. Is this Keith O'Donnell or Rosie Olbermann? So if you think Keith O'Donnell is the right choice, put a 1 in the chat. If you think Rosie Olbermann is the right choice, put a 2. I'm going with Keith O'Donnell. It's got a ring to it. Looks about right to me. And speaking of 2017 versus 2021, look at the difference in demeanors here. These are two people who have been dragged through the mud by Obama and Brennan and their clowns. And the next 4 years is going to be glorious. And don't think we put this one up before, but either way, it's good for a laugh. What's the most absurd medical bill you've ever received? My annual tax bill for other people's health care. Ain't that a mouthful? All right, give me a second here to load up again on memes. We're running up against the clock. We got approximately 9 minutes to finish this up. Again, I think we got some repeats, but I still think we're going to set a record tonight for the most memes ever shared in Chapter 3 on Survival Dispatch News. And I can't tell exactly how many I have left because the file's so big, but we're getting there. Very, very close. Come on now. Again, just in case you forgot that I mentioned this 2 minutes ago, we would love to have a producer at SDN to help us get through all this stuff, have everything all queued up and good to go. If you're a technical person and you would like the position, doesn't pay well, doesn't pay at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. We get sent a lot of stuff at Survival Dispatch, and Lord knows I don't want it all. So I give it away to many of the people that you see on SDN. All right, here we go. Home stretch. All right. Good news for everyone. Father who beat man to death for raping his 5-year-old daughter faces no charges in Texas. God bless Texas. And this is what happens when your girlfriend is scared of heights. Okay. Good story. The United States military just entered the great state of California and under emergency powers turned on the water flowing abundantly from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. The days of putting a fake environmental argument over the people are over. Enjoy the water, California. Once again, Donald Trump was right and Gavin Newsom was wrong. Wow, really good news. Jim Acosta, one of the worst and most dishonest reporters in journalistic history, a major sleazebag, has been relegated by CNN fake news to the midnight hour. Death Valley because of extraordinarily bad ratings and no talent. Word is that he wants to quit, and that would be even better. Jim is a major loser who will fail no matter where he ends up. Good luck, Jim. And that proceeded by, I believe, about 24 hours before he was out. And there's Trump up top as the cat, metaphorically speaking, the Epstein files and the deep state. The deep state deeply worried of their names being exposed. Dear GOP, don't assume that it's just the Democrats we are watching, and that is true. Democrats, Republicans, two different sides of the same coin, equally bad. And I believe we covered this one earlier, so move on to the next one. Just in, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth wasted no time in putting the proper names back on our military bases today. Promises made, promises kept. So Fort Benning and Fort Bragg have gone back to their proper names. Good stuff. All right. This is the ice cream president, and this is the ice president. Gotta love it. All right. And Selena Gomez crying again. All my people are getting deported. Yeah, okay, whatever. Become unliftable. So this is the girl that the Lyft driver didn't want to let in because he said she was too big for the car, that is now suing Lyft, whatever. All right. Breaking: hospitals overwhelmed with emergency TDS cases. I have a feeling we may have put that one up before. Somebody here at wherever this is in deep shit. If this, in fact, was not just put up briefly, I don't see Trump's picture behind there, just this caricature. And, there's cameras everywhere these days. So if you get caught and you get slapped on the wrist, so be it. I think we've shown this one for everybody getting deported. I can say absolutely, as a pure person with pure, has absolutely less than zero regrets. If you see tacos, you are fat. I guess I'm fat then, because every time I glance at this image, I see tacos, and then I have to focus on it, realize it's 3 slices of pineapple. Next one we've already shown. Oh, this is classic. Sorry, it's not the one I was thinking of, but funny picture, good picture. I thought there's a meme like this for Mexicans hiding in the leaves, but we're dog lovers here at SDN, Survival Dispatch, period, and especially in our home. My little girl is lying down beside me here. She's got a blown ACL. She's a rescue. She's about 11 years old. Our male who died in the spring was her best buddy. He had both of his knees done. She's getting hers done shortly. It's brutal. All right. Trump says he wouldn't feel responsible if anything happened to Fauci. That was after taking away his Secret Service protection. This guy's getting the F out of there. Who the media wants you to think Trump's deporting, who Trump's really deporting. And here is a picture of Trump Hotel that I took last week on our way to dinner one night with Keith Graves from Christian Warrior Training, John Wheaton, and Dave Kemp from Righteous Savages, John from Survival Dispatch as well. It was a great night of camaraderie with our friends. Want to mention Flex Industries one more time quickly, flexindustries.com, or click the link below. Discount code SD17, S as in Sam, D as in David, 17. You get 17% off any of the triggers there. We really appreciate it when you support our sponsors. All right, homework. What can our audience do in light of chapter 1 tonight? Got 3 quick bullets for y'all. Number 1, write to your senators telling them that you voted for Trump and Trump's people, and to get behind RFK and not Big Pharma. Number 2, do your best to let people in your state know if your senators are going against the electorate's will, which is Trump's people and Trump's policies. Number 3, keep track of your senators voting against Trump's agenda so you can remind people when they're up for re-election. That's something I started doing years ago. And then when someone comes up, I'm not writing somebody off over one bad decision, but when somebody shows a pattern of making anti-American decisions, they do not deserve anybody's votes. Quick reminder for Patreon, patreon.com/survival dispatch. Sign up for a free membership. You get 50% of our daily sit reps, situation reports. Pay $9.99 a month, get all of our sit reps, a whole bunch of other stuff, plus an invite to our private Signal chat, massive volume of information, intel, great camaraderie. Just been an awesome thing for the Survival Dispatch world, crew, audience, whatever you want to call them. All right, to our conflicted or grok question of the day. What are your strategies for maintaining mental health and morale during long-term isolation or crisis situations? So long-term isolation or crisis situations, in my mind, is, we've had some sort of SHTF event. Highly unlikely that I would be completely alone. I don't really have a strategy for being completely alone because of that. But my strategy for, if it was my wife and I and our dogs at our cabin in the mountains, that's actually heaven. That is, I don't need a survival strategy for that. Was, raised in the country. Can't wait to go back to the country. We will be selling our home in Florida to go to the mountains permanently. My wife likes to say it's too people-y out here in Florida. I couldn't agree with her more. I don't need a strategy. My actually state of mental well-being is exponentially better in the mountains than it is here. So take that for whatever it's worth. Sorry, I don't have any additional information for you. Our closing video tonight, Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance to Soul Man, done by the Blues Brothers. We will be back tomorrow night at the regular time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. God bless America.